Hello everyone, my name is Raiden Bruins and today I'll be presenting my personal financial plan. This class has completely changed the way I think about money. Before taking this course, I thought financial success was mostly about making a lot of money. Now I understand that it's really about managing money, protecting it, and investing it and planning for the future. To start, I want to talk about my story because our financial plans are shaped from where we are from. I'm currently 20 years old and a student at Rutgers University. I'm also a football player, and my schedule revolves around school, football, workouts, recovery, and trying to become the best version of myself every day. Living away from home has taught me responsibility in ways I never expected. I have rent, food, transportation, insurance, and everyday expenses that have to be paid before I can spend money on things I simply want. One of the biggest dreams I've had for most of my life is to play football professionally. Every workout, every practice, and every class I take is helping me move toward that goal. However, something I learned in this class is that every financial plan should include backup plans because life doesn't always go exactly as expected. If football becomes my career, that's amazing. But if it doesn't, I still want to build a successful life through education, investing, and business. I never want my future to depend on only one opportunity. Earlier this semester, we created vision boards. And when I look back at mine, I realized my goals have become much more realistic. Of course, I still want nice things. I've always wanted my dream car. I want to travel, own a beautiful house, and become financially free. But now I understand that all of those things should come after building a strong financial foundation, instead of buying expensive things first. I want my investments to eventually pay for those things. My short-term goals over the next 2 or 3 years are to graduate from Rutgers University, continue playing football at the highest level I possibly can, improve my credit score to over 800, continue growing my savings, pay down my car loan, and become much more disciplined with my spending. Another short-term goal is simply becoming financially organized. I want to know exactly where every dollar goes every month, instead of wondering why my account balance changed. My intermediate goals, which are about 3 to 7 years from now, include beginning my professional career, whether that's football or another career path. I want to purchase my first investment property, continue investing consistently, and create multiple streams of income. I don't want to depend on just one paycheck, because if one source of income disappears, I still want financial security. My long-term goals are focused on creating generational wealth. I eventually want to get married and have 2 or 3 children before starting a family. I want to make sure I'm financially stable enough to give them opportunities I may not have had growing up. I want to own multiple rental properties, have a diverse investment portfolio, own my dream home, retire comfortably, and eventually help support my parents if they ever need it. Another goal is leaving something behind after I'm gone. I don't want my legacy to only be remembered through football. I want my family to inherit financial security, investments, and opportunities because of the decisions I made throughout my life. Now I'd like to talk about budgeting because in my opinion, budgeting is one of the most important topics we've covered in this course. A budget simply tells your money where to go before you spend it. Without one, it's easy to spend more than you realize. Currently, my biggest monthly expense is housing because I live off campus in my own apartment. After that comes my car payment, insurance, groceries, gas, utilities, my phone bill, subscriptions, and everyday personal expenses. Instead of spending first and saving whatever happens to be left over, my goal is to reverse that process by paying myself first. That means automatically moving money into savings and investments before spending money on unnecessary purchases. One area I know I need to improve is is discretionary spending. Like most college students, it's easy to buy food, clothes, or random items online because they don't seem expensive individually. But over a year, those purchases can add up to several $1,000s. To fix that, I'm going to practice delayed gratification. One lesson from this class that really stuck with me is that just because I can't afford something doesn't mean I should buy it. Waiting a few days before making a large purchase helps separate wants from actual needs. My saving plan starts with building a strong emergency fund. My goal is to always have enough money saved to cover at least 6 months of living expenses as an athlete. Especially, injuries or unexpected situations can happen at any time. So having emergency savings protects me from relying on credit cards or loans during my difficult times. Instead of leaving all my savings in a traditional bank account that earns almost no interest, I plan to keep most of it in a high-yield savings account that allows my money to continue growing while remaining available whenever I need it. As my income increases throughout my career, I don't want my spending to increase at the same pace. That's called lifestyle inflation, and it's something I want to avoid. My goal is to increase my savings rate every time my income increases, so that I can continue building wealth instead of simply buying more expensive things. Now, I'd like to talk about banking because choosing the right bank can make a much bigger difference than most people realize. Before taking this class, I didn't really think about the differences between banks. I just wanted somewhere to keep my money. Now that I understand that different banks and credit unions offer different interest rates, fees, and financial products, a checking account is important for paying everyday bills, but a savings account should actually help your money grow. One thing I learned during our banking project is that high-yield savings accounts pay much higher interest than traditional savings accounts. Instead of leaving money somewhere earning almost nothing, I want my savings to earn as much interest as possible while still being safe and easily accessible. I also learned about FDIC and NCUA insurance. Knowing that my money is protected if a bank or credit union fails gives me peace of mind. Another lesson I learned is to avoid unnecessary overdraft fees by keeping track of my accounts and maintaining an emergency cushion in my checking account. Next, I want to discuss taxes. Taxes are something that everyone has to deal with, but many people don't fully understand them until they start making more money. Right now, most of my income is straightforward, but if I play professional football or earn income through endorsements, investments, or real estate, taxes will become much more complicated. My goal is to keep organized financial records throughout the year instead of waiting until tax season. I also want to work with a qualified tax professional if my income becomes more complex. Paying taxes correctly is much easier than dealing with penalties or audits later. Another thing I learned is that taxes should always be considered before making financial decisions. For example, investment income, retirement accounts, and business expenses can all have different tax consequences. Understanding those rules can save a significant amount of money over time. Now, I would like to talk about loans. Currently, the biggest loan I have is my auto loan. When I first financed my vehicle, I had very little credit history, which resulted in a much higher interest rate than I would like. That experience taught me how expensive borrowing money can become when your credit isn't fully established. One of my financial goals is to refinance loans whenever it makes financial sense. Lower interest rates mean more of my monthly payments go towards paying off the actual loan instead of simply paying interest. In the future, I may also use loans to purchase investment property or a home. However, I only want to borrow money for assets that have the potential to increase my net worth. I don't want unnecessary debt that loses value over time. This class that taught me that debt isn't always bad. Smart debt, such as mortgage or good investment property, can help build wealth. Bad debt is borrowing money for things that quickly lose value while creating large monthly payments. I would like to discuss credit and credit cards. Credit is one of the most valuable financial tools if it's managed responsibility. A strong credit score can lower interest rates, make it easier to qualify for apartments, mortgages, and auto loans, and even reduce insurance costs. My goal is to continue improving my credit score by making every payment on time, keeping my credit utilization low, avoiding unnecessary debt, and only opening new accounts when necessary. One of my most important lessons I learned is that paying only the minimum payment on a credit card can become extremely expensive because of interest. My goal is to pay my balance in full every month whenever possible. That allows me to build credit without paying unnecessary interest charges. Credit cards can also provide benefits like fraud protection and rewards. but only if they use responsibility. They should never become an excuse to spend money I don't actually have. Another important topic we covered is identity theft. Identity theft can happen to anyone, and recovering from it can take months or even years. Because of that, protecting my personal information is something I take serious. I plan to use strong passwords, enable two-factor authentication on important accounts, monitor my bank accounts and credit reports regularly, and avoid clicking suspicious emails or links. I'll also continue checking my credit reports for unauthorized accounts or activity. Catching fraud early makes it easier to fix before serious damage occurs. Now I would like to discuss insurance. Insurance is something people don't often appreciate until they actually need it. One accident, injury, or unexpected event could completely change someone's financial situation if they aren't properly protected. Right now, auto insurance is extremely important because I drive every day. My goal isn't simply to buy the cheapest policy available. Instead, I want enough coverage to protect myself financially if I'm involved in an accident. Health insurance is also essential. Medical bills can become extremely expensive very quickly, especially as an athlete where injuries are always a possibility. Having quality health insurance protects my health and my finances. Another type of insurance I think is very important is a disability insurance. Since my ability to earn income depends heavily on my physical health, especially if football becomes my career, disability insurance could protect me financially if I suffered a serious injury that prevented me from working. Life insurance isn't something I necessarily need a large amount of today because I don't currently have a spouse or children depending on my income. However, once I have a family in the future, life insurance will become a major part of my financial plan. I want to make sure my family would be financially secure if something unexpected happens to me. When I eventually buy a home, homeowners insurance will also become a necessity. Home ownership brings financial responsibility, and insurance helps protect one of the largest investments most people ever make. Finally, healthcare planning goes beyond simply having health insurance. As I get older, I want to continue maintaining a healthy lifestyle because preventing health problems is often less expensive than treating them later on. Long-term healthcare planning also includes preparing important legal documents like an advanced healthcare directive and a healthcare proxy so my wishes are clear if I'm ever unable to make medical decisions myself. Although long-term care insurance isn't something I need today, it's something I'll evaluate later in life because healthcare's expenses can become one of the biggest costs during retirement. Now I'd like to talk about investing because this is one of the areas that can have the biggest. And before taking this class, investing honestly seemed confusing to me. I thought it was mostly about trying to pick up the perfect stock or making quick money. Now I understand that successful investing is usually based on patience, consistency, and diversification. My personal risk tolerance is moderately aggressive because I'm still young. Since I have many years before retirement, I can afford to take more investment risk now than I could later in life. Even though I am comfortable taking some risk, I still believe diversification is important. I don't want all my money invested in one company or one type of investment. My long-term investment plans include investing in low-cost index funds, retirement accounts, and eventually real estate. I also want to build passive income through rental properties. One of my biggest financial goals is to own multiple rental properties that generate monthly income. That way, I won't always have to trade my time for money. I also want to create generational wealth. It means building assets that can continue helping my family long after I'm gone. If I have children someday, I'd like to start a college saving account for them early and teach them good financial habits so they have opportunities that continue building from one generation to the next. In conclusion, this project helped me realize that financial planning is about much more than money. It's about creating freedom, security, and opportunities for both myself and my future family. My goals include graduating from Rutgers, continuing to pursue football, becoming financially independent, owning investment properties, investing consistently, maintaining excellent credit, protecting myself with insurance, preparing for retirement, and eventually leaving behind generational wealth. I know my goals are ambitious, and I understand there will be obstacles along the way. But with discipline, consistency, and the knowledge I've gained from this class, I believe I can build a strong financial future no matter what career path I ultimately follow. Thank you for listening to my presentation.